conducive to teaching and learning. However, recently, there's been an alarming increase in a rise in the number of online threats of violence, either being made as a joke or in a moment of anger. These actions are irresponsible and have serious legal consequences. Since the start of the 24-25 school year, 24 students have been arrested and charged with a second-degree felony for making a written online threat. Last year, we had to address over 2,500 threat assessments. And so that everybody understands, a threat assessment is any time a child makes an inappropriate statement, and that requires, in accordance with Florida statute, a response by the school district, law enforcement, and other agencies that we investigate those. Now, let me give you a little bit of an example of how that impacts our community.
There we go. What's poppin', Rick Mill fam? Appreciate everybody that's joining in. Appreciate all the love and support, man. Everybody that's been giving love, man. I wish everything back to you. Much blessings, much love and support for you and your family. So what we rocking in today, it looks like there's been 24 students out in Polk County. Y'all already know how Sheriff Grady get busy out there. So we're going to go ahead and tune in to see what's been going on with all these recent threats lately in the school community. It's been crazy. You know, being a parent nowadays, you're under so much stress and scrutiny on a consistent basis. So you really, even going to work and just dealing with the regular wounds of life, now you got to worry about your kids' safety while you're at school. So I think them making an example of what's going on with these children are going to make a huge difference and get things better. Hopefully we can go in the right direction, because the school threats on a consistent basis has been too much. So let's tune in and see what's been going on. Appreciate everybody that's been joining in.
As a whole, not only does it create uncertainty and fear across our campuses with our families and our students, it also creates a burden on law enforcement. Each and every threat assessment can consume anywhere from 3 to 5 hours of a law enforcement officer's time, because part of the threat assessment process is we visit the school, we interview the student and the family, and law enforcement officers. That amount of time, again, multiplied by over 2,500 instances, is a good example of why this is becoming a problem for our community. And it's a problem that continues to grow. There's no secret that over the last few weeks, we've seen an incredible increase in the number of these types of threats being posted. And each media outlet across the state continues to document how school districts are responding to ensure, again, that our students are safe, our campuses are secure, and our families can feel secure knowing that their students are being taken care of each and every day. We are taking a zero-tolerance approach to this issue, and it's important for us to continue to remind our students and families. I'm very pleased. Our sheriff last year committed to doing a series of videos for us and with us, so we could convey the importance and the seriousness of making these types of threats and the consequences that students would face. However, again, we continue to see an increase. So it's important for me to remind our families, students will be arrested. They will be charged with a second-degree felony, and from the school district's perspective, we will pursue the fullest extent of the consequences for any student or any non-student member of our community who phones these in or posts something online or social media or email. We will be seeking restitution. School districts are allowed to seek restitution for damages, and we'll be working closely with law enforcement, state's attorney's office, and other agencies to seek restitution. As an example, last Friday, we sent over 40 staff to Haines City High School so that we could screen and search every single student entering that campus. That team then immediately got deployed to 2 other middle schools, which consumed over 4 hours of our district staff's time. These are not school-based employees. These are district-based staff who respond and are part of our random searches that take place twice a month at all of our secondary schools. And that time is better utilized elsewhere. So we will be seeking restitution. Those cost estimates range anywhere from $2,500 to over $5,000. And that will be something that we continue to pursue. And expulsion. Students need to understand that that moment of anger or this belief that somehow this is funny will result in their removal from our school district, an assignment to an alternative school or another location. So this is a call to action for all of our parents and guardians. This alone is not a school district issue. We work very closely to educate our students on the appropriateness and the utilization of social media, but this is also a partnership. So I'm pleading with our families to have honest and lengthy conversations with their children.
You know what this sounds like, y'all? You know what this sounds like? This really just sounds like discipline your kids at home. Or we gonna not only discipline them, but we gonna discipline you as the parent for not disciplining your kids at home. That's what it sounds like to me. Oh man, so it's I know I don't mean to make fun of the situation, but it's just funny that like how the scrutiny of how growing up, getting whoopings and everything used back in the days, that used to be a big deal. But it seemed like we didn't have to deal with these issues. We went to school, and I'd never really. I mean, I may have heard of a bomb threat every now and then, but I'd never really heard of. There was no shootings back in the days when I went to school. So to think that the kids got to go to school nowadays, you got to worry about getting shot up while worrying about algebra. Yo, that's wild. That's wild. And they're doing random searches where they have to bring in additional resources to go ahead and search everybody. And then once you're searched, if you get found, your parents are responsible for the 5,000 or 2,500 to 5,000. You're getting expelled. And they're just trying to discipline everybody that's involved. It's pretty much just saying, hey, take care of your kids, take care of your discipline from home. Now, that's pretty much what they're saying. Lego.
About the seriousness of this issue and the potential consequences that not only will the child face, but the family could face financially. And so at this time, I'd be happy to turn it over to our sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. First and foremost, I want to thank this school board and our superintendent, Mr. Hyde, for the response to keeping kids safe. You have to have a safe environment to have a learning environment, and that exists in Polk County. And I sat on the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Commission. We did a deep dive into why that event occurred. I've studied all of the shootings across the United States. There's a common thread. Words matter. There were signs in advance of all of these shootings, and people ignored them. Schools ignored them. Teachers ignored them. Parents ignored them. Law enforcement ignored them. And occasionally they end up with an active shooter. So my question has always been, well, if you want to ignore them until it's real, tell me which one is real. This school system said, listen, our children are going to be safe. As a result of that, when you look at the size of the school district, there's about 13,000 employees here at the school district. There is in the neighborhood of 125,000 kids that come to school every day. When school takes in, this is the single largest city in the county. And I praise the wisdom of the school board that said, hey, we're going to have a unified school response and a unified law enforcement response. So let me make it clear, we've had 28 days of school so far, and we've already had to arrest 24 students for written threats to kill or written threats to shoot up a school.
What they saying, they are not playing. They're not playing with anybody. Y'all out here making these threats. Y'all want to go ahead and write these letters, put up a Facebook post about how you're going to get Ryan. They're not playing. Like, people are really, like, times are too hard for parents and these sheriffs. It's hard being a sheriff. I mean, being a police officer today is just difficult, and that's a whole. I commend y'all, man, because y'all job is hard. But then being a parent and then having to worry about these consistent issues on a day-to-day basis, like 24 students have already been arrested just for the threats. That's 24 possibilities or 24 different days of this year that they had to worry about somebody else on a different day of school coming and shoot the school up. Think about that. And that's only been 28 days of school. So it's serious, man. I hope y'all paying attention. Let go.
Or written threats to place bombs. that is absolutely unequivocally unacceptable. And it's disruptive. Now, I always have a few parents or a few people go, oh, it's overreaction. Okay, Einstein, you tell me which is for real. And when you're perfect with your assumption and presumption and statements that, oh, all of this is fake, but I'll let you know when the real one is, then we'll stand down. But we're not going to let our children be in harm's way at school. And we are making it abundantly clear that we're holding those accountable. Now, let me take this a step further. It's not just the kids at school. You'll be disappointed if I didn't have a card. This is Antonio Stansel. He's 30 years of age. Last week, he called the Lakeland Police Department and said, somebody stole my AirPods and my firearm from my car overnight. So the police department, doing what they should, started pinging the AirPods, and guess where they pinged? At Kathleen High School, at the bus loop. So now we've got the whole school on heightened security because we've got what we believe is a student that's committed a burglary, stolen AirPods, stolen a firearm, and is now at the school with a gun. We locked down 3 buses. We put the school on security. As Mr. Hyde talked to, staff went there and the search was on. We found the kid. He looked us in the eye and go, I broke into the car and I took the AirPods, but I swear to you, there was no gun in the car. The normal response is, yes, sure. Where's the gun? And the search went on. I swear to you, there's no gun. Well, there was no gun. Einstein here reported the gun stolen almost a month ago in Hillsborough County. And when we ask him, why do you realize what you've done, how you've disrupted the school? He said, well, why did you say that after you've already reported it stolen? He said, I thought I'd get a better police response if I told you that. Well, he got a response all right. He got a set of handcuffs and a trip to the county jail, but he still scared school staff and students, and it's totally inappropriate. So we have to work together. Our school system is doing the right thing.
Like, that's wild. Think about that. He literally he literally used the heightened awareness of school shootings to report his gun and iPod stolen. Well, maybe he didn't know that it was at a school, but who knows, man? Just be careful out there, man. This world is getting crazy. It's getting crazy. This is going on, man. Let's continue, man. Let's lock in and see what else.
Except they matter. We'll do a thorough and quick investigation. I think the news media, for being restrained in not reporting on all 355 anonymous tips we've had this year, or every arrest of a student, because that's not necessary. But the reality of it is that we're serious about keeping kids safe and creating a safe environment. So when kids go to school, we're not going to have an environment like Fort Knox where they're not safe, they feel like they're locked up. We're going to have a safe, warm, fun learning environment, but we're going to be dead serious about anyone who threatens to shoot or kill another person. Okay.
You know what's wild, man? When I was in school, you didn't have to worry about stuff like this, man. Like, I mean, you probably square up at like the green box in the community or something, or you already knew when everybody was gonna have like a physical fight. But like people pulling up, and I mean, even in the hoods that I came from, I mean, shooting didn't really become prevalent until like later years. But in high school, you wasn't really worried about getting shot. That wasn't a concern for us, man. I feel for the kids today, man. Like, this generation, man, it's hard because you not only are you thinking about just even understanding the lessons and what they're trying to shove down your throat and digest everything in regards to information wise, but now you got to think about, dang, am I going to get shot while I'm trying to learn this book lesson? while I'm getting ready for this test on Friday. That's wild, man.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chair, quick question.
Yes, sir.
There was another story about an 11-year-old that was arrested. The picture was shown and he was perp walked and they released it. Are you willing to show the mug shot and perp walk these kids and we can show it when they do these things?
Here's what I know. Sheriff Chitwood over in Volusia County has experienced like we have, an incredible growth of information. Well, part of it is Fortify Florida, which we're thankful that we have the system where people can report. He became frustrated and he perp walked an 11-year-old. You know, I'll never say never, but the reality is that when it comes to children that I show their pictures, I want to make sure that they're extremely dangerous kids. So people say, ooh, they're extremely dangerous kid. So, not some knucklehead who committed a second-degree felony, but he's just banging on the computer and thinks it's cool at the time. So I don't rule that out. I applaud Sheriff Chitwood for making an example of the person he had to make an example of. But I'm always, believe it or not, even though I show pictures every day, we are restrained in whose picture we show and who just needs to be dealt with by the system. But we're asking now on every one of these cases for investigative cost. So not only are you going to have to deal with the school district and their authority, you're also going to have to deal with the criminal justice system. And we're asking for restitution for all of the costs to investigate these cases. So it's one of these things like, you know, seller beware. You sell us a threat, you're not only going to get felony charges, but mom and dad are going to get hefty bills. And it's in the thousands of dollars when all of this response occurs. So mom and dads, I have some ideas. First and foremost, when you put your kid to bed at night and you need to be there and put them to bed, take their cell phone into your bedroom. When you send it to school, tell them put it in your backpack and don't take it out unless you have a personal emergency. And whatever you do, never, ever, ever, ever text, email, go on social media and make any kind of threat at all. It will get you arrested before quick.
Sheriff, you talked about how this is a rising phenomenon. Have you heard from others? I mean, you mentioned Volusia County. Does it seem to be happening in counties all over the state?
Yes. Fortify Florida's done a good job marketing. So it's going up all over the county. And I would suggest, I haven't queried every county, but the sheriffs I've talked to, we're seeing an increase this year. Some of this, it's like everything else that we do. When we market it and make it a priority, people respond. And we want legitimate responses. We absolutely, and I underscore, want legitimate responses. But we don't want, I think, or he said, or she said. We want to know. And if someone types out a threat, I'm bringing a gun to school tomorrow, we want to hear that. It's important. Words matter. But what we don't want is kids chattering back and forth and another kid saying, well, it turns out they were talking about a game they were playing online. Had nothing to do with the school, nothing to do with a real threat. We've got to check them all out. But words matter, and what you type on social media never goes away. It's there for.
Like, that's wild. Like, if you playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, or any of these games that's out here that's first-person shooters, and you go on social media, and if you saying anything crazy as a student, they are watching. They are watching you. So if y'all think it's a game and you out here just playing, because I'm being a gamer, I already know, but we never really smashed. I mean, social media wasn't really, it was big, but it wasn't like it was today. So just the consequences of actions that can be shown just by going on social media and putting up a quick post and saying, oh yeah, you got 5 KD KO death ratio in Call of Duty or something. Maybe you need to tag the game or be very, very particular with your words that you're using, because they're paying attention, and they ain't joking about locking up. They just perk walked an 11-year-old. An 11-year-old. That's wild. That's wild, man. It's hard being a police officer today. Let's go.
Forever.
Sheriff, it seems like there was a national post that was sent out right at the beginning of the school year across the country. Kind of sort of got this ball rolling. I mean,
We end up with these TikTok challenges. Well, we'll TikTok you to jail if you follow those challenges. That's the bottom line to it. But that's what happens. It goes out as a TikTok challenge, or it's cool, or somebody does a rap video and challenges and do this and do that. Well, the overwhelming majority of the kids go, well, that's nuts and I'm not going to do it. But a few of the kids say, I'm nuts and I'm going to do it. And then we're going to arrest them.
Sheriff, what sort of jail time do they face for these threats?
They're juveniles, and they will go into the juvenile system. Depending on the validity of it, we can work with the state attorney's office and have them waived to adult court. But I underscore that's not normally what we do with these kinds of cases. We keep them in the juvenile system, and they can be kept in programs. They can receive probations and have to respond with different when they refer to putting them in a program, they're talking about locking them up. So there can be out of lockup programs. And the whole goal of this is to educate in advance, but hold them absolutely responsible. Now, I have to tell you, I believe the system's working. We're not getting a lot of people that are texting the second tip to shoot. And if we do, that gets more serious. But we've got to check, because in every school shooter, there were signs in advance that people ignored. This school district is not going to ignore them. We praise our school board members and our superintendent because we take them all seriously.
Sheriff, when you arrested these 24 kids, how did their parents react?
I don't know because I wasn't there, but I hope they reacted with the seriousness that they should have. If they didn't, then, and this conduct continues, not only are the students responsible, but there does get to be a line where the parents are responsible for child neglect and not paying attention to their children. And you can be sure that we'll hold the parents accountable according to law in every instance where we can. If you don't manage your child, we're going to manage your child and you. It's your choice.
Sheriff, 24 students just seems so high. It's a shocking number. What's your reaction?
What I tell you, it said if you can't manage your child, we're going to manage your child and you. I already seen that coming. Like, you see that coming. That's the whole behavior behind this. Discipline and take care of your kids from home so that way they don't have to do it out there in the world. That's wild, man. That's wild. Yeah, let's continue on and see what else Grady got to say.
To 24 students, is that?
Well, when you consider that all of last year we had 42, which is 42 too many, and in 28 days we've had 24, that's why we're all standing up here today, because we can't have any more of that.
Sheriff, of those 24 arrests, can you give us a sense of how they were detected? Were they mostly?
Fortified Florida had most of them. Kids responded, for which we applaud them and said, hey, I saw this threat to shoot up the school, shoot someone, and the variety of the written threat, it depends on who they're mad at, whether it's the teacher, just the school in general, another kid at school, but it will get you arrested and charged with a second-degree felony. Let me repeat what the superintendent said, there's zero tolerance for that.
Were any of these phone calls or were they all?
These were the ones that were written.
And, I'm sorry, Fortified Florida is where you can report?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr.
Superintendent?
Hyde.
Go ahead.
Mr. Hyde, are you doing anything to communicate to parents to try to get them to talk to their children about this?
Yeah, so this went out in our back to school memo as well, but this memo and this letter went out to all of our parents and guardians yesterday at noon, so they'd have more than enough time to review that. We sent it out in multiple languages, and the reason for today's press conference, and we're very appreciative of everyone who's here, is the message has to get out. And so we're trying to get this communication out through every possible venue so that parents can be well informed and understand that they're part of this. They're part of the solution to this issue. And we're asking them to assist us further.
Superintendent, I'm curious about your perspective. I think people see this 24 arrests and say, what is going on? So from your perspective, as somebody who's in the school district every day, what do you think is going on?
I think, unfortunately, many of our students believe that social media is an appropriate place for them to try to garner attention. We are very fortunate that to date we have been able to disqualify all of these threats. As the sheriff put it, we investigate and we complete more threat assessments than several others do because we do not diminish the expectation. We investigate everything, even if it's just a comment expressed on a playground at an elementary school. We never know. And it's unfortunate that the news constantly reports, I think Orange County yesterday had a handgun brought to school by an elementary student. And that's the unfortunate reality. And so we want to be responsive. As a parent of a student here in Polk County Public Schools, I believe that perspective puts me in a unique position that not only am I responding as the district's lead educator, but I'm responding as a parent. And I would want every parent in our school district to understand how seriously we take this.
So, I mean, honestly, like, what are your thoughts on this, man? I mean, I think as parents, we're all kind of concerned and worried about this. I think everybody is really out there worried about the safety of their children. I think teachers are worried about what to do. I know they do constant training. I'm pretty sure they do constant training in these circumstances, but what's the solution? Like, what really is the solution to really, I mean, I guess it really could start at home with the family is what they're really trying to say. Started at the inception. It seems that things are just getting bad, but you just got to protect your loved ones, take care of your immediate circle. And theoretically, that should be able to strengthen the whole world if everybody can take care of their immediate circle and just take care of their initial issues. But it's a concept that is really hard to grasp based on what I'm showing today. So we're going to go ahead and finish out this video. I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with me. Thank you so much for the love and support. If you're still here with me, you like the content, you like the video, go ahead and drop a note below. Drop a comment. Give me a like. It helps the algorithm. I'm really trying to build a channel up, man. And I think I'm really trying to like doing these reviews. If you like seeing this type of content, especially if you're out here in Florida and you want to see locally what's going on, this one out here is in Polk County. Go check out my other video that I did in regards to what's going on in Orlando. So it's a lot of stuff going on there, crazy. But we're definitely going to be keeping a lot of the local media and content going on. Stay tuned for daily posts. And I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. Y'all take care.
But unfortunately for many of our students, there's a FOMO aspect to this, fear of missing out. As the sheriff pointed out, Fortify Florida is the most appropriate place for someone to post or share a concern. What happens, unfortunately, more often than not, is it goes to Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and other places, and it keeps getting redistributed. So even though we're able to dispel it as a rumor or a myth, it keeps circulating, so it keeps that frustration, that tension building in the community, and so we're forced to respond differently.
And the sheriff talked about the legal ramifications for these kids. So what happens on the school side? They're expelled, their whole journey is disrupted.
Expulsion is not typically permanent, and for many of these students, depending on what the state's attorney's office ultimately does, we work with those families to place these students in alternative education in an attempt to re-enter them into our school system at the point where it's most appropriate. So we spend a lot of time with counseling, intervention, monitoring, tracking. Our sheriff and the school district are committed to not simply just expelling these students, because if they've made a threat, we want to maintain them in our system where we can monitor them and support them, rather than have them disappear in the population and potentially become a larger threat or hazard to our community.
So you said these have all been disqualified, so none of these were actual, none of them actually had plans to come into school and commit harm?
That is correct.
Have you guys found any real weapons this year on campuses?
No, not to my knowledge.
Is there, or could there possibly be, this maybe for the sheriff, some type of incentives for kids to see something, say something like similar to Crime Stoppers or something like that?
Well, we have the Fortify Florida tip lines, those types of things. I don't know that we incentivize that to this point. That could be something I could discuss with my board as a possibility moving forward. Our students do a good job. I will say that. I needed to migrate away from social media to Fortify Florida and more appropriate venues because, again, when it hits social media, it spreads like wildfire. And we've had recent events where a student posted a threat, another student grabbed that image and then put their school name on top saying this is going to happen at our school, and then another student grabbed it and said this is going to happen at our school, which subsequently led to, so Friday, just to give you a little bit of background, we had 17 arrests. By the time I was finalizing this memo on Monday, we were up to 24 because those students were taking those images and those screenshots and replicating them with the intent to disrupt their campus. Some of these students aren't just doing it because they're angry. Some of these students don't want to test on a certain day. They don't want to be in school that day. And so they try to leverage these types of things, just like calling in false bomb threats or pulling the fire alarms. It's unfortunate, but it's something that we have to take very seriously because this has gone beyond just disrupting